Hey, name is Ray. This is Stephen Yale. I'm here to do a quick walkthrough of how to review one of our new educative units. So, first of all, you should have two things. You should have access to Blackboard to do this, and you should also have this unit review rubric for science courses. Now, you're going to want to make a copy of this rubric for each of the courses you're going to review. To do that, you want to be logged into Google Docs, so you should see your picture or your email address up here. If it says log in, you need to log in. And then you can go up here to File, and you can make a copy. And it'll make a copy of this in your Google Drive. If you don't have a Gmail account, or a Google account, I should say, you can still go up here to File and Download. And you can download as a Word document, and you're more than welcome to complete it as a Word document if you'd like to. All right, so once you have that, you're going to need one copy for each unit. Then you're going to want to go into Blackboard. And to find your units, you're going to want to make sure that you go to the correct lounge. So I'm just going to go to AP Biology. They're all pretty much in the same place, regardless of the course, so these instructions should work for everybody. Once you're in your lounge, I'm going to change this to so it looks the same as what you see. You're going to want to look for the sidebar on the left over here. And this has each of our units. The new units were sent to you in an email as far as the names of them. For biology, we have this evolution unit and also this chemistry and biochemistry. So they should be some of the first couple units, but check the names that I sent you. Once you go in, just click on that link on the sidebar, and it should open up all of our resources for that content area. And here's where you could potentially make a mistake. The unit that I want you to review is this cardboard box looking icon right here. This is our recommended unit for this course. These are brand new. All of these other things that are in here are existing materials that we already had. We don't need you to review these materials. We want you to look at this unit. When you click on it, it should open up in a separate platform and should look like that. Okay, so to get back to Blackboard, you'll click Exit Unit right here, but if yours doesn't open up like this, if it opens up just like a regular old Blackboard list of items, you're in the wrong place. So now once you're in here, you can hit Open Unit to access the materials, and the first thing that you're doing on your rubric is you're just literally doing kind of an inventory to make sure that everything that's supposed to be there is. So you're checking the completion of the unit. So I have all of these different things that are on here, and requirements for each one, and you're just giving us your feedback. So for example, the landing page. Does it include a visually appealing relevant image and text for navigating through the content? Like, that's probably going to be yes from everybody because it's a default thing. So that's this page right here, the landing page. And then the title, so you read through these, you're going to answer those questions. Make sure that all of those things are there. That should be pretty kind of boring, just making sure that everything's in the right place. If something's missing, we need to know. Now, when you get down to these literacy features and cultural elements, you're going to have to be a little more thoughtful about those, and you might want to skip these until you've done parts 2 and 3 because they'll inform your answers a little bit. So literacy features, does this unit specifically call out activities and resources that will help build content literacy and literacy in general? And then cultural elements, like, does this unit lend itself well to being modified, and does the author do a good job of explaining how it could be modified and how they modify it to meet the needs of their students? That's what those things are. Those are going to be tough, and that's one of the fuzziest things to answer. Okay, so now once you do that, part 2 and 3, you're getting a little more specific. So for part 2, what you're doing is you're doing a high-level curriculum view in the context of the pacing guide. So the big question that you have to answer here is, when you look at the NIMSY pacing guide, the way that it's written, and if there's 2 pacing guides, you want to go with the one that we recommend for new teachers. Don't go with like the experienced person's one or anything like that. When you look at the pacing guide and you look at this unit, does this unit sufficiently account for, and does it provide students with the opportunity that it should for that content area? And so, for example, sometimes the author may have left a topic out of this unit thinking that it should go somewhere else. Well, unless there's another unit where it naturally fits, that's a bad assumption. So you're looking at this, and you're going to copy and paste the standards, and I'll show you where to find those in a second. And then you're going to, ask yourself, what other unit could this standard potentially go in? And then you're going to, think about it and say, does this do a good job as is? of, providing instruction or of giving students a reasonable opportunity to achieve mastery. So that's what you're doing for this part. I anticipate this being pretty easy, and really this is just making sure that nothing is missing. So if there's a standard that should be in this unit and the author assumed that it went somewhere else, well, you're making sure that that didn't happen. Now, to find these standards that you copy and paste, it's pretty straightforward. If you go and open the unit, you can find those down here under targeted standards and practices. So if you go to this, for some of the units there's not that many, so it'll actually open up in a table. What I would do is I would click on this link though, regardless of whether there's a table there, because that'll give it to you in a Word document, which will make it a lot easier to copy and paste. So based on your content area, you might have big ideas through learning objectives, or you may have a course that's not redesigned, so it might look a little different. But whatever your standards are, you're just going to copy and paste those into that table and answer the questions. Okay, then part 3. This is the meat of the review. This is where things get super detailed. So this is where you're going to do a curriculum view in the context of the unit itself. So are the daily components aligned with the targeted standards, and are they at the appropriate level of rigor? So there's instructions here, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to do a look at each day of the unit. So we have a table right here, and this is what you're making your money to do. This is the hard part. You're going to create a copy of this table for each day of the unit. The easiest way to figure out how many days there are is to go to the detailed learning plan. When you go to the detailed learning plan, sometimes, depending on how long it is, it might be in there as a table, but I would click on the link to open it up. So you can see that this unit is, let's see, this is 10, so this is 15 days, okay? So you're gonna need to do a review of each of those 15 days. Now, the times when you won't have to do that is if there's a 2-day activity. You don't have to do it twice for a 2-day activity or anything like that. But you're gonna basically make a copy of this table for each of those days. So this document's gonna get pretty long. And then you're gonna fill this out for each of those days. So you're gonna copy the actual text from the detailed learning plan. So for example, I would copy this right here, this Brine Shrimp Lab notes discussion. I would just copy that text, put it in the table, read through it as if you were a teacher about to do it. You can give a super brief description. Some of them you can probably copy and paste the description. It's up to you. This doesn't have to be long, but just, so you know what's going on that day. And then what we would really like is for people to use these in your classroom. However, that's probably not applicable in all cases. So we just want you to tell us how you are using it. Are you just reading through it? Are you completing it as a student? Are you using it in your classroom? Now, this is tricky. If you just read through everything, you're probably not really reviewing the unit very thoroughly. So we'd ask that you try to use it in your classroom. If you can't, that's fine. We then would like you to complete it as a student. So if there's a test, if there's a quiz, if there's a lab, what we'd really like you to do is sit and actually do it. So work the problems, walk through the activity, etc., as best as you possibly can to get the full idea for what's there, because that's the only way you're going to find mistakes and errors anyway. For some items that won't make sense, and in that case just read through it, use your best judgment. But don't just read through everything, and we want you to be pretty thorough. Once you do that, you're going to answer these questions for each thing. So, and this is really where you're giving detailed feedback to the author of the unit. So this is going to make this document really big because you're going to copy this a bunch of times. Most of our units range from anywhere to like 6 days to 15, 16 days. But it probably won't take too long for most of them, because most of the days, it's just like a unit in your class. You're doing some practice here, stuff like that. You're taking a quiz, so you're gonna look through these activities. Now, one thing I will point out is if you scroll down below this, this is where the author gave a brief description of all of those activities. So this is where you'll find some context for what you're actually going to do in there. Okay. Then, once you're done with that, the final thing is teacher stories and educative features. So we want our units to be educative. We're not really a curriculum provider. We're a teacher development organization. So we really want to help teachers develop their practices and their skills. So when we develop units, we're developing these with the idea that a teacher using our materials, we want that to actually make them a better teacher. So we want our materials to be adaptable. We want the questions that they have to ask themselves when they do our materials to actually improve their practice. So that's where you're looking at that. One of the lowest hanging fruit methods that we use are what we call teacher stories. So instead of just giving teachers instructions, we want to tell them a story of how another teacher used those materials in their own classroom and how they were modified. So this is where you're going to basically each item that has a teacher story, you're going to review the teacher story that's there, and then we'd like you to write your own teacher story. So you might say to yourself, well, I've never done this activity. How am I going to write a teacher story? We want you to make it up. This can be a hypothetical. And I think you'll be able to do that. We picked pretty creative people. So ask yourself, if I was doing this activity in my classroom, how would I modify it? And the modifications are the key thing. We don't want you just to tell us that you did the activity and it worked. How would you change it? And if you would fundamentally change it to where it's no longer a lab, now it's a project or it's a homework assignment, or how would you do that? What changes would you make and why? And what we want teachers to realize through this is that your decisions in a classroom should be driven by your students, and based on you describing your students and the actions you take with activities as a result, it's really going to help teachers. So to find those teacher stories, you can, again, with the detailed learning plan section, there's a teacher story section here, okay? So you can look at them all there. So here's the description of the activity, here's the teacher story. So you're going to do these for just the ones that the author has done. You can also find them on the detailed learning plan in most cases. Some people did a little bit differently down here with the brief description. It's just a copy and paste of that stuff. So that's what you're going to review right there. Okay. Now, the rest of the unit materials, you can click through here and you can see all of these things. There's all kinds of stuff. I don't have a bunch of specifics for what you have to review, but the documents themselves, like you can click to, they're in a folder. That's how you would actually access all of the documents that aren't displayed directly on that site. So that's what we're asking you to do for this unit review. We're anticipating probably take you anywhere from 5 to 10 hours, which is why we're going for $500 for your payment. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you very much.